everything, everything. I am the cup, you'll be the wine. I'll drink till I'm thirsty, drink till I'm blind by your brilliance every day. Welcome, beauties. Every day your shining is calling me out. Shining is shining light from my skin to be calling us out. Just gonna have us sit here for another minute or so while ladies are arriving. And while we're waiting, perhaps you could close your eyes and contemplate this question, which is, what does it mean to me to embody the goddess? A goddess, the goddess. So maybe just feel into that for a moment. Every day your shining is calling me out. Shining is shining light on my skin, calling us out. All of our darling, all of our darling, all of our darling. Hello. All right. I believe you are all muted right now. And what I would love to do is have everyone introduce themselves. Like we did last week. So basically, because we have women that weren't able to make it last week, we have some different faces here. So what I would love for you to do is just say your name and where you are tuning in from. And I believe I need to go ahead and unmute you first. So just one moment. Unmuted. Woo. Okay. So what should happen is that when you speak, your image will show up. Everyone will see you. And then you'll just say, hi, I'm so-and-so tuning in from wherever you're tuning in from. Okay? And it's just, you know, kind of popcorn style. So just jump on in and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy. I'm sorry I missed last week and now I'm homesick with the flu, so I might take myself off video, but I'm tuning in from New York City.
Yay. And did we see her? Did her picture pop up?
Yeah.
Yes, right? That works. Good. Welcome. So glad you're here, Amy. I'm fighting something a little bit myself, so you're in good company. All right. So who else is with us?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sandra. I am calling in from Stamford, Connecticut.
Yay. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mindy, and I'm from Telluride, Colorado.
Yay. Welcome, Mindy.
Hi, I'm Emma, and I'm in Orange County, California.
Welcome, Emma.
Hi, beauties. I'm Lulu, and I am currently in Charleston, South Carolina.
Welcome, Lulu.
Hi, everybody. I'm Isabel. I'm calling in from Ojai, California.
Welcome, Isabel.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany, and I'm tuning in from Santa Monica, Los Angeles.
Welcome, Brittany. Oh, here we have a glamour shot of Molly.
Hey, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm on my phone. I'm just getting home off of work. I'm from Los Angeles, and I'll tune in video soon.
Wonderful. Welcome, Molly.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm tuning in from my work as well in Manhattan Beach, California.
Welcome, Julie. Is that everybody?
No. This is Kristen May. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Hi, Kristen. Welcome.
Hi, this is Katya. I'm currently in Calabasas.
Oh, yay. We get to see your face this time. Welcome, Katya.
Yes.
Who else is here tonight that hasn't said hello yet?
Hi, it's Jessica.
Jess,
Hi,
welcome. And where are you tuning in from? I know, but tell everyone else.
Oh, sorry, I missed the first minute. I'm in Brooklyn, in New York. It's later here, guys, so I'm gonna jump off a little early.
Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hi guys, I'm Emily. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Welcome, Emily. Okay, I think there's a couple more. If you haven't gone yet, now's your time to jump in. I know Paige is here. Anna is here. Are you going to say hi?
Oh, yeah. Hi. I'm Anna and I live in Australia.
Welcome, Anna.
And I'm Paige and I live in Milwaukee. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I signed on a little late, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, yes. Everyone's just introducing themselves. Welcome, Paige. Okay, I think that is everybody who is with us. Oh, no. I see Leah.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I said hi a couple times, but there was.
Oh, you know what's weird is your picture doesn't seem to be popping up. Try it again.
What was that?
Your picture. Okay. Normally, when you speak, your picture pops up. I heard your voice, but I didn't see you pop up.
Okay.
So.
Well, hi guys. I'm Leah, and I'm calling in from Los Angeles.
Welcome, Leah. All right. I believe that's everyone that's live with us right now. All right. Beautiful women. I welcome you all to week 2 of Prosperous Goddess. And what we are focusing on this week is embodying prosperity. And that in the form of the divine feminine is Lakshmi, the goddess we're going to be speaking about this evening. And I asked you at the top of the call, well, for the women that were here right on time, to feel into what does it mean to embody the divine, embody the goddess? What does that mean to you? And as we spoke about in week 1, this feminine approach to prosperity, which really is the new paradigm approach. This is the approach that we're moving into, which is really a balance between the masculine and feminine, but we really focus on the feminine right now because for so long we've been in a paradigm that's really through the masculine perspective, not only the masculine perspective, but actually like a wounded, more toxic expression of the masculine in general that really is conditioning the energetic spaces of the culture we live in. So if you're in corporate America, even as an entrepreneur, a lot of the models that we're given are kind of tainted with that energetic frequency. And not that we want to scrap it all together, but there's a lot of elements that aren't really going to be supportive for us moving forward. And the paradigm that we're moving into as the veils are thinning and we're being revealed as divine beings in human form is an understanding that things don't necessarily have to be so plugged into the material plane with this temporal time sequence mentality about like I do this, then I get this, then I'm going to get there kind of thing, right? What we're moving into is an understanding that I emanate, I am it, I am prosperity, I am the frequency. And from there, I collapse time and space and I magnetize that reality into my experience. And that might sound a little, for some of you, that might sound like, yeah, I totally know that. And some of you, that might sound a little like, woo-woo, what is she talking about? Collapsing time and space, what? I thought this was about making more money. But really, it's this understanding that we're moving into that everything in our physical world is actually made up of vibration and frequency. I'm going to mute everybody. Hold on, because I hear a lot of background. Let's just mute all. Okay. There we go. In some ways, there's like a comfort in hearing everybody else, like, oh yeah, we're all here together, but I think it can get distracting. So as I was saying, what we're moving into is understanding that everything in our world, in this physical reality, is actually made up of frequency, it's made up of vibration, it's not as solid as we think. And therefore, we have to pay a lot of attention to the frequency and the vibration that we are operating at. And that, as I brought up that question last week, it's like, who do I have to become? Who do I have to be in order to have what it is that I desire? Not necessarily what I have to do. Not that we scrap that. We still do things. We're not opting out of that altogether. However, we're recognizing what's been really undervalued for so long is, who am I being as I'm doing? What is the frequency? What is the vibration that is being transmitted through my doing? Because if the frequency and the vibration of my doing is in scarcity, lack, contraction, then the results are going to reflect that. Whereas if I really put a lot more emphasis and value on the frequency and vibration of what I am being, like on a cellular level, am I being prosperous? Am I coming from that space? Then that's where the magic and the miracles can come in, where things can happen a lot more easily and more effortlessly. And that's when I say that thing about collapsing the time and space, but it's like, oh, we don't have to kind of go through the little like sort of mouse maze as much to get there. So have some of you started to work with the statements? I would love, let me see if I can see everyone for a minute. And this isn't, I know everyone's at a different place, like sort of when they entered into the course and what they've had going on in the past week, but who was able to go ahead and start working with the statements, doing the prosperity practices? Go ahead and put up your hand. Yeah, so I see some hands going up. Pretty potent, yeah? That language, the wording, it's like it does something. I feel like there's this kind of hypnotic effect that it has. It's worded in such a way that when we do these practices daily, we start to drop into this place of what I'm speaking of. This understanding that prosperity, like the channel, this client, or this job, this particular opportunity is not what defines prosperity for me, that I have unlimited access to it. And as we do these statements daily, they also help to acknowledge that it is about this frequency, it is about this vibration, and it's who we are, literally embodying this, embodying the statements and embodying the divine energy, this divine frequency. The first day's statement is so juicy and so potent. I'm going to read it out loud. Goddess is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all-providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. That's a lot when you really feel into that. The language is so, I just love it. It has such an energy to it. And it's very specific, each word that's chosen. The rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. That is what is the divine. That's what everything is made up of. It's the spirit that is in all of the matter. And that the spirit is the thing that has the power, that has the energy, the life force, the prosperity giving quality. And to start to tune into, and that's where I feel like the statements are so powerful. It has us start to be able to tune into that. We're so used to, in our world, we just see the thing as the thing. It's this very material world that we have been brought up in and educated in. And it takes a real shift in our consciousness to start to tune into the aliveness of everything. This life force, this divine essence that is infused into all. Now, this statement also says, this all-providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. And that's saying that that vast, unlimited, divine energy has been individualized into a very unique expression known as me, as each of you. And that we have access at all times to that unlimited potential. So to embody the divine, to embody the goddess, to embody prosperity is to understand, feel, experience, and know that on a deep, deep level. To move through our day experiencing ourselves as that. Is anyone on board for that? Sounds good, right? Can you imagine if you're, I see two hands up, if the power, the magic portals that you open up in your world when you are moving through your day, experiencing yourself as that. And we all have the mundane activities of our day, right? That can very easily distract us away from that. And the doing the practices every morning helps us to let that be more sustainable and more sustainable and more sustainable. We start to expand the amount of time that we get to spend there. And I invite you, just in general, as you're moving through this course and through this process, to just throughout the day, check in. You know, maybe you had a crazy deadline at work, or you had to, get the kids out the door for school, or something stressful that shocked your system in the day. Just check back in. Where am I at? Oh, right. Can I remember who I really am? The reality of me is this all-providing source of infinite prosperity, capable of making magic and miracles. When we are in touch with that, when we know that in every cell of our being, there is a way that we feel like we have a full tank. There's a way that we feel inspired. And the experience of being prosperity incarnate, I feel there's a statement that I always think of with this, which is, my cup runneth over. And there's a sense of enoughness, more than enoughness, in every ounce of your being. And in order to connect with that, in order to allow ourselves to feel that, we work in habitual mental ways, spiritual ways, and physical ways. It's really important for us to pay attention to what's going on inside our physical container. Can I feel that prosperity on a cellular level? And we'll talk about how to do that and how to know when you're there, what that feels like. But it's not a feeling of scarcity or lack, contraction. And I wrote down some words here that I feel encapsulate this. And actually, before I share those words, I want to just talk about the fact that there are particular divine beings, goddesses, that their role is to embody prosperity in a feminine way and to teach us what that looks like. So they are our guides, in a sense, in understanding this. And the primary one worldwide, the one that I know of that's most directly expresses this, is Lakshmi. She's a Hindu goddess of prosperity and abundance. And there are other goddesses, though, that express that. Oshun, who is a goddess of beauty and magnetism, playful seduction, also embodies feminine wealth and prosperity. And she is a goddess from the African Yoruban tradition. And we will do a practice and an exercise with her in a couple weeks. Another goddess that expresses this is Abundantia, who is a Roman goddess. And she holds that horn of plenty, which is the cornucopia. And I'll actually do a little screen share now. Hold on. Okay. Oops. Okay. Go back. Okay, so here's an image of Oshun, who we'll be working with a little bit more, again, in a couple weeks. And let me put this on there. And you can see how she's adorned. I mean, she's obviously very beautiful, very sensual, adorned in all of this gold. And she has this energy that magnetizes to her in a very effortless way. Through her sensuality, she opens up and she receives, and it's just natural to her, of course. Like, I wouldn't be any other way than dripping in gold. Like, that's how she expresses this connection to prosperity, abundance. And then here's Abundantia. So this is a Roman goddess, and she's holding that horn of plenty, that cornucopia. And behind her, you can see all of this like sparkly, it looks like sparkly gold dust. Like that looks like that rich, omnipresent substance of the universe that we're talking about, that divine expression of prosperity, that energy, that frequency. And then it goes into the horn, and then it opens up and comes out as gold. And sometimes you'll see fruits, like luscious fruits, like the bounty of the harvest coming out of that cornucopia. And sometimes it's gold coins, but it's like she's representing the channel between the divine and then the physical manifestation of what is abundance and prosperity. And then here we have Lakshmi. And she is, as I said, the Hindu goddess. And she's seated on this luscious pink lotus. And she's got gold coins coming out of her hands. She's got 4 arms. 2 of them are holding up pink lotuses, almost ready to blossom, or pretty much almost fully blossomed. Then one hand, she's dripping gold coins out, and the other one, she's giving a mudra of peace and prosperity, and like a blessing. And she's often got these elephants behind her that are pouring water, and they represent also this kind of stability of material prosperity and abundance. And I think I have another, yeah. So here's a more modern image of Lakshmi. And you can kind of see all of that gold, like the gold coins, that energy from the divine behind her. And then that's the Sri Yantra right behind her head as well, which is in a sacred geometric expression of the divine feminine. And again, like this beautiful, big, pink, luscious lotus, fully blossomed. And here you can see the lotuses are really fully open. It's filled with gold coins. Again, representing not necessarily like we're so greedy for money and money cash, but it's like the gold, the coins, what they represent is the energy of prosperity, the energy and freedom of abundance. All right. I see. So the women who have done it before are chatting about how interesting it is to do it again. So Lakshmi is the prosperous goddess that we're working with during this time. And what we're going to be focusing on today is how do I really match my frequency with hers? How do I become an embodiment of Lakshmi? And there's a lot of different ways to connect to that because there's different levels. So I got asked sometimes, with the goddess work, is this something religious? Do I have to like believe in Hindu goddesses now and pray to them? And I would say absolutely no, that's not necessary. It's a possibility if you feel called in that way. But actually, really, the baseline way I speak of it is finding her as an aspect of yourself. That these goddess stories are ways that cultures would share about the human experience and the different aspects of the human experience, the different aspects of ourself that we have access to. Understanding that that is a part of you and that you want to be able to access that, embody that. And so we work with the goddesses in behavioral ways. We also work with them physically, finding where she resides. How do I access her within my physical and my subtle physical self? And then there's always that opportunity for having a spiritual connection with her if you feel drawn. Now, so I wrote down some words that I associate with Lakshmi that I feel like really call forth descriptive words of what it feels like to connect with her. Relaxed. So when we are embodying Lakshmi, we feel a relaxation in our whole nervous system. She is abundance. She knows this, right? She knows she is the all-providing source of infinite prosperity. So there is no reason for worry, ever. There is no reason for the contraction and stress. There is a relaxation, expansion. There's an opening. In that relaxation, we're able to expand rather than contract. Soft. Overflowing. That my cup runneth over. Just like a lusciousness that just flows out into the space. Glowing. Lustrous. It's like there's a and radiance is actually the next word, radiant. There's a radiance. It's as if Lakshmi energy. And when we as a woman are embodying that, it's a little bit like gold dust has gotten sprinkled all over us, like we're glowing in that. Nourished. Again, that's where that overflowing quality comes from. We're so fully nourished. The succulence comes from there. It's like this, there's nothing missing. Luscious, succulent, rich. It's like creamy, rich, full, unctuous. Just added that one in. Luxurious, sumptuous. All of these kinds of words. This is what you want to feel when you're embodying Lakshmi, or that is what you will feel when you are embodying her. And that's going towards those things can be helpful reminders. Opposite words. So when you know you're moving away from the Lakshmi frequency. Stressed, tense, feeling lack, malnourished, contracted, hungry, nervous, scared, worried. Nervous system kind of like on overdrive a bit. Overdoing, not able to calm the self down. And we live in a world that pushes us that way. We live in a world that's kind of overstimulated, focuses on more doing. There's like some ad that says that, like more doing, more doing. Coffee, all of these things that can get us kind of that wired and tired. That's the opposite of Lakshmi. So I want to tell you a little bit about her story, so you can kind of have more context than just a picture and like going, okay, I know she's the embodiment of wealth and abundance. These stories, these mythologies of the goddesses have a lot of information in them that really can help guide us into how do I find her within myself, because that was the point. That's the point of the story, is to help you find her. So, goddess story time. Once upon a time, many, many eons ago, there were devas and asuras. Devas and asuras. And the devas were the gods and the goddesses, and the asuras were the demons. And that is, in English, our translation of the word asura, which is a Sanskrit word. And my understanding, not being a Sanskrit scholar, is that it's not an exact translation. That we don't have a word in the English language that expresses exactly what the asuras are. However, demon is apparently the closest word that we have. So they're kind of like semi divine beings, but there's a kind of a little bit of a malevolent, I love maleficent, malevolent energy there, or a darkness. And they were both at this time not immortal. They both had a mortality to them, and they wanted to become immortal. And they heard that there was a nectar of immortality that lay at the bottom of the ocean of milk. Now, they both wanted this, and they both knew that they couldn't get it to rise up from the bottom of the ocean of milk on their own. And so they decided to work together. Very interesting. The asuras and the devas, the gods and demons, are going to work together to get this nectar of immortality. And the ocean of milk is vast. So they had to churn this vast ocean so that this treasure of the nectar of immortality and other treasures that they had heard of would rise up from the bottom. Now, they had to get a mountain moved and placed in the center of the ocean. And then they got Sheshna, a giant snake, this big divine snake that wrapped around the mountain. They wrapped him around a few times. And then on one end, the Asuras took the tail. On another end, the Devas took the head. And they started to pull back and forth. And through this motion, it created a churning. And then the treasures that were on the bottom of the ocean of milk started to rise up. And all sorts of incredible, amazing things were coming up. And right before the nectar of immortality, which was the last thing to come up, right before, Lakshmi rises up. She rises up radiant on this beautiful blossoming pink lotus, just rising up, dressed, and very much like these images I shared with you. She's just dressed in this beautiful golden sari, and she's immediately recognized as the goddess of prosperity and abundance. And her consort, her husband, her partner, is Vishnu. And Vishnu is one of the primary gods. There are three primary gods. It's Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. And they are, this is in Hindu cosmology called the Trimurti. And Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the preserver, and Shiva is the destroyer. And it's understand that everything gets created, it gets sustained, and then it ultimately gets destroyed, and that there's a cycle that goes around. And Vishnu is her partner. He is the sustainer god. He is here to help preserve the material world. And so all of these elements give some indication of what is the essence of Lakshmi. How do I find her within myself? Because this is her creation myth. Now, there are different versions, some that have stories that actually precede this even, where she's basically gone into hiding, and this is when she reemerges. But either way, it's a story about how does Lakshmi come into our life? Now, first of all, it's an ocean of milk that she's at the bottom of. And so it's understanding that somewhere within ourself, if she's an aspect of ourself, we must find where the bottom of the depths of the ocean of milk are. Now, physically in our body, that would be very low down, right? And I locate that in the pelvic area. Now, we also have a mountain, we have a snake. So a mountain is this energy of earth. So there is a grounding and earthiness to connecting to Lakshmi. And also this connection of earth and liquid, and that creates a mud. And then out of that rises the lotus. And of course, the lotus is this representation of spiritual awakening. And it's also, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in week 5, there's also a bit of especially with the pink lotus, there's a bit of a sexual connotation with it as well. But it is awakening consciousness that rises up out of mud, that it's got its roots deep in mud. There's a snake, which it can be a reference to a lot of different things, but one, a snake is an animal that is very low down and close to the ground. It's also an animal that is very sacred to the goddess and also representative of Kundalini energy. So there's a lot of meaning around that as well. But starting to feel into, if you were to embody Lakshmi, there's a lot of indication that we want to ground, that we want to root, that there is a connection to pelvic energy, and even a churning. And this sense of the lotus that's rising up, that has deep roots, that's rising up. And then this final piece about her partner, Vishnu, being the preservation god. So he's the preserver, he's the sustainer is another word for it. So it's really the sustainer of the material world. And so we want to think about for ourselves, how are we sustaining our material physical self? And this nectar of immortality is also connected to her. She's down there with it, and she's the last thing that comes up right before it. And so there's a sense as well that prosperity and abundance that she is the goddess of is also connected to our vitality, our life force energy, and preservation of that. So we have been taught that prosperity is money. Of course, it is a powerful channel for prosperity to come to us, but it isn't prosperity itself. And even a lot of people relate to Lakshmi as just being like, oh, I pray to her when I want money. You know, I pray to her to get the gold coins. I pray to her to preserve my wealth. And kind of end of story. That's the way a lot of people relate to her. But when we actually go into the story, when we go into really understanding more about her, we start to understand a much deeper definition of prosperity that she represents. And also indicators about how to find that within ourselves. And it has a lot to do with a preserved vitality. And that's where that sense of lustrousness and my cup runneth over, all of that comes from really feeling within yourself on a deep cellular level that you are vital. In this very earthy, unctuous way. So if we want to become the embodiment of prosperity, understanding that as we embody that, so our world reflects that back to us, then we want to go inside and we want to really look at, on a cellular level, am I in that frequency? Am I taking care of my physical self and my energetic self to be in alignment with that frequency and that vibration? So one of the really important ways, one of the first things we can do is really look at our habits of eating. Like, do I allow myself to have a full tank? Do I allow myself to be really filled up? Or do I run myself close to empty? You know, having been, got like some hair stuff going on here. Let me just put that there. Okay. So having been a nutrition and health coach for women for a really long time, one of the things that I noticed is that for a lot of women, we can tend to undereat, especially during the morning hours into the afternoon, sort of push our eating till later in the day. We tend to be a culture that is also really addicted to stimulants. So having a lot of, kind of getting that coffee in the morning and maybe having something that's not going to really stabilize our blood sugar. And so when we have unstable blood sugar, our system is in a state of imbalance. If we overexercise, we overstimulate, we don't really have our whole body in this state of all sufficiency, then our system is running at scarcity and lack. It's such a basic thing in many ways, but it's so important. And I'll tell you that it's like, I've observed this, I've known this. Sometimes I'm really good with it. And sometimes recently, like sort of at the beginning of the year, my metabolism actually can run really fast. And sometimes it's actually hard for me to keep up with it, especially if I put some exercise like running, which I did at the beginning of the year. I wanted to start running in the mornings. I realized that my system got very sped up, and it was hard for me to keep going, keep eating enough to fill it. And I know that that's a problem probably a lot of people want to have. But what I realized is that it would have me sometimes running through the day, because there's so many things I want to do. I love my work. I love being social. I love being active. I love like being out in the world and doing things. And so sometimes it's easy for me to kind of forget to eat. So if that's you in any way, if you see yourself in any part of that, either kind of like overstimulating with the caffeine, maybe over exercising, or just being so busy forgetting to eat, I want you to start to really pay attention to that. That's part of your homework for this week, is to look at where there are changes that you can make with your diet that will have you more aligned with the frequency of prosperity, that will have you actually emanating and vibrating at that level. There's particular foods as well that help us kind of align with that. So foods that are unctuous, that are fatty, that are creamy, in the right way for you, right? Like people are very bio-individual, so you have to feel into where that fits with your particular metabolism and body type. But healthy fats generally are really good for most people. And so it's things like, if you do dairy, grass-fed butter. It can be, full fat, again, grass-fed if you're doing any dairy, yogurt, that kind of thing. But it could also be like coconut yogurt, or one of the things that really helps me align with that energy is I love coconut smoothies. So where they take the coconut meat and the coconut water and blend it together. And now I love that there's a company that does that and sells them in bottles, so I can just buy it easily. But if not, sometimes I'll just do it at home with a coconut. But that creamy, luscious, milky quality helps the body, that healthy fat. It helps the nervous system relax, and it helps us feel that overflowing, unctuous quality. And again, Lakshmi rose up out of the ocean of milk. That is information for us. It's not like a saltwater ocean, which that has certain information in it as well. It's the ocean of milk. It's thick and creamy and luscious. And when we have foods, when we fill ourselves up in that way, we actually become more aligned with her frequency and vibration. And again, finding where that fits for you in particular. But healthy fats, like, cooking something in grass-fed butter is generally going to be something that's good for everyone, as long as you allow dairy in your diet. If not, it could be ghee, or if you don't do any animal products at all, again, like avocados are another great one. The coconut oil is another great one. But these really rich, fatty quality foods. Now, again, making sure that you're keeping your blood sugar really balanced, because if you're having like a lot of fruit in the morning and then coffee or something like that, and going into your day and spiking your blood sugar up, overstimulating yourself, it's going to create a little more anxiety in your system. It's going to create like that sense of overstimulation and being a little harried. And being aware of the coffee and the stimulants in general too, just like that really can set everything. I don't personally don't drink coffee anymore because I noticed that it would just have my heart racing really fast. And as much as I love the sensual quality of the smell of it and the ritual of it in the mornings, I found that it actually had me just feeling anxious, and it was harder for me to drop into that state of calm relaxation that is the frequency of Lakshmi. And in general, just really paying attention to your nervous system and doing all the things that help to calm it down and have you feel really grounded. And so a practice that I recommend for you all to do is an evening oil massage to the body. And preferably, lighting a candle at your altar if you have one, or just lighting a candle in general, putting on some really beautiful soft music. And sesame oil is the oil that I recommend, and warming it in your hands. If you're feeling like really decadent, you could actually warm it, heat up some hot water in your stove and then immerse it in the hot water for a minute and warm up the whole bottle. And if sesame oil is heating to the system, so it's a great one for the winter time. But if you're in a hot climate or you run really hot, it might be too heating for you. And something like coconut oil might be better. Coconut oil is really cooling though. And I found that, I can remember one night massaging my whole body in coconut oil, not really thinking about it, and waking up like chilled, freezing, and not able to get warm in the middle of the night. So if you're sensitive, these oils do have these qualities of either heating or cooling. Something like almond oil or apricot kernel oil or something like that is a little more neutral. But sesame is the #1 recommendation if you don't overheat and you're in a cooler climate. And so it's lighting a candle, putting on some music, and you could even, light a candle in front of an image of Lakshmi and begin to massage your body from head to toe. Really allowing yourself to create a ritual out of it. You can put a lovely essential oil in it, like either the one that you're using for your practice, or it could be something, since it's in the evening, you don't want to use something that's stimulating, which might be in your other oil. You could use something like lavender or vetiver or sandalwood, something that's really calming for you, but also feels very sensual. And just taking that time to really be with the body. And I recommend while you're doing it, taking some time to stretch, lay on the floor, and make it a priestess moment. I really feel like taking this time at the end of the day, especially because we are, there's just so much that many of us are juggling and handling in a day, to take some time in the evening and just go, okay, this is my time to really embody the goddess, to align with the frequency of the priestess, and what I mean by that really is just bring the sacred into your world. And that's one of the things that I do want to emphasize here as well, is that in the end of it all, on some level, really ultimately what the essence of prosperity is to bring the sacred into our world. Because there is a way that we are having enough of a sense of everything is all right. I can be here now fully with my presence. And when I am fully in my presence, that is what creates the sacred. It's bringing full presence to a moment, to a person, to an experience. And in so many ways, it's like we've moved away from the sacred in this world. We've been divorced from it. And in this state of constant preoccupation with the doing and the goal and the next thing, always feeling that the cup is half empty. Always feeling what we're lacking in this race to get where we're going. that we then don't have time and space for the sacred. And our relationship with time, by the way, is one of the most impactful ways that we express our relationship to prosperity. It's the belief in scarcity around time, a contraction around time, that divorces us from being able to be in that frequency. And when we give time to ourselves, when we give time to something, we're expressing a prosperous frequency. So time and presence are what create the sacred. And so I believe as we move into a more truly new paradigm, feminine, prosperous world, we're moving into a world that's more sacred, where we allow the sacred to be interwoven throughout the day more and more and more. However, we are all still living in this world that doesn't, for the most part, have proper space, appreciation for the sacred. So to set aside time, to consciously choose in the evening that I'm going to take this time to be in sacred relationship with myself, with my body, with my soul. That is, I believe, one of the most impactful ways that we can start to really tap into the prosperous frequency. So again, we do that when we light candles, and we, that's one of the ways we go, okay, I'm creating a sacred space right now. Also, having like soft music, getting the lights lower, all of that also helps your nervous system to calm down, so you're going to have a more restful night's sleep and really wake up the next day feeling more filled up, like you've got that full tank. Like rest and food, these are the ways that we fill the tank. And it's really imperative. So often in our world, we can really get off track with that focus on the doing, where we just, there's like that frequency that we start vibrating at, that is the frequency of worry. It's the frequency of lack. It's the frequency of concern and kind of pushing ourselves into the future. And this is about bringing us all down into the now. And also one thing to think about is like stimulating the lymph as well, doing long strokes while you're doing the massage. That helps to relax the nervous system. And in general, other ways that you can connect to Lakshmi throughout the time that we're working together is just feeling like where you can bring the sacred into beauty rituals. That's really a Lakshmi space. So if it's baths or breast massaging, scalp massage, just different ways that you can take time with your physical form where you can connect and bring sacred relationship to those things. Now, I want to do a physical practice with you as well, where we're breathing and working with the Shakti energy, in particular bringing in the frequency of Lakshmi. Before we do that, I think we'll end with that. What I would like to do is actually talk to you a little bit about the essential oil practices that we're doing in the morning. So I know some of you have just come on board in like the last 24, 48 hours. And so you're catching up, and I want to be clear that the last thing I want anyone to feel while they're moving through this course is like, oh my God, I'm stressed, I'm behind, there's like too many things for me to juggle. So I'm committed to really giving you a lot of tools and a lot of practices. So for those of you that have the spaciousness to bring them in, you have a lot to work with. And these are also practices that you are going to be able to work with for the rest of your life. So I want to give you a lot. And I also want to just, as I'm giving you new things, remind you that it's just, the whole point is to be in a calm, relaxed state. And if you do just the minimum of the 40 days with the first part of the essential oil practice that I gave you and the statements, a lot is already going to move and change. And last week, I showed you how to use the essential oil and breathe that in, and you go into limited liberation, and then breathing in, I'm willing to change, as you see your prosperous vision. Now, there's another element that you can bring in to add on to that, only if you feel like you've got that down, you're kind of zooming along, and you're ready for the next thing. The next thing is where we work it through the chakras. We actually check in with each of our chakras. Now, there's a video that's going to be in the online Prosperous Goddess HQ where I show you in detail how to do this, but I'm just going to give you a little brief version of it now. What you're going to do, so after you breathe in those 3 statements, then you place 2 fingers, your thumb and your middle finger here, and then I kind of put this finger up there on the forehead above the eyebrows, and then you take your other 2 fingers and you're laying in bed in the morning and you place one under the tailbone and you feel into subtly getting a little bit of a pulse there, and you say, I'm willing to change, and you see your prosperous vision, and it's like you're getting an okay in your body that's going, yeah. And then we move around to the front and we go through each of the 7 chakras. So we start just above the bikini line, which is where the first chakra is, and you do a subtle light tapping, and then you just lightly press your fingers there, and then wait to feel a little bit of a pulse that's going, okay, I'm aligned. And meanwhile, inside you're saying, I'm willing to change, and you're seeing your vision. And then you go up to the second, to the third, all the way up to the crown. And again, the video that's online will go through that with you in more detail. But that's basically what's happening, is that you're going to get your whole body lined up with your vision, your whole nervous system, all of your chakras going, yes, and feeling what it's like, kind of almost like you're filling up a glass of water, like little bit by little bit, where each part of you is like totally merging with and in line with that vision. So that you can start, if you're ready, you can start to bring that in this week. And again, we still have weeks to go, so at your own pace, you can bring that element in. Now what I want to do with you is a little embodiment, and then I want to open up for some Q&A around the practices so far. One thing I do want to say before I forget, I was thinking about it this week, with the statements, as you're going through the statements, and the instructions say to meditate with each statement for up to 15 minutes, and then journal about what's coming through. Like you kind of write down like day 1, statement 1, the date, write down the statement, then meditate with it, and then you write down kind of anything that unique to you, insights, associations that come to you that you want to remember. You write that down there. One thing that I want to encourage you around is it doesn't have to be a full 15 minutes if you don't have the time for it. I want you to be able to adjust it. So I know some of you have less time in the morning, so that even if it's like 5 minutes, that's going to do something for you. And I also want to encourage you around, it doesn't have to be that kind of static, just like I'm meditating. I do say like keep running the statement through while you're sitting in that space, but I want to encourage you to actually breathe the statement in so that you feel yourself really deeply aligning with it. And you could even be doing like the Shakti breathing. So, Goddess is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. So like, let yourself like move and feel that moving through you. Let yourself really like feel the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. So I encourage you around letting it be a moving, almost dancing form of meditation. Or if you feel called, you could write down the statement and actually, dance with it for several minutes. I really want to open up this idea of what meditation is. It's just letting yourself have a bit of time. So it's not just like writing it down and then you're on to the next thing. It's letting yourself marinate energetically with that statement in a way that works for you. And generally speaking, something that has a little more embodiment to it is a little more the way the feminine works. We're not necessarily as much the static meditators, although that's really powerful practice as well that I include in my practice and can be done with this. I just want to say, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying open yourself up to these other things as well. And so what I would like to do with us right now is do a little bit of Shakti breathing. And like I said, I'm going to bring in some of the Lakshmi frequency into this and find where, kind of guiding us through, like, where's that ocean of milk? Where's the snake? How can Lakshmi begin to rise up within me? Like to feel her rising up and you merging with and becoming her energy. All right. So go ahead and close your eyes. And begin to start paying attention to the parts of your body, making contact with the seat beneath you. Notice what's going on with your butt, what's going on with the bottoms of your thighs, the whole pelvis. Can you drop? Just like, remember, Lakshmi's at the bottom of the ocean of milk. Can you allow yourself to become less in the upper chakra frequency and let the energy, like an elevator going down, 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 drop into the pelvic area, into your base? And allow your awareness to soften that part of the body. Like that flame to candle wax, just softening the butt cheeks, softening your thighs. And let that softening go all the way into the whole pelvic